And good afternoon, everyone. Charles Moscowitz here, Monday through Friday, 12 noon live at YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch, among a couple of other people. I'm trying to do live. Being the internet as it is, I don't have to do it live every day. So, it's unlike radio when you really have to be there or you miss the train. This is a live program, and I am taking calls. 617-396-4830. That is the phone number. If you'd like to join the program live, you're welcome to do so. 617-396-4830. Or you can send messages on the Facebook page, which I will look at and read over the air as they come in. You're certainly welcome to do that. I believe the live stream is happening on Facebook as I speak. Yep, there it is. This is a great adventure in talk. Now, obviously, right now, President Trump is looking at the bill that was just submitted by Congress to keep the federal government open, to fund the federal government. And it brings up, of course, a very fundamental question, which I'd like to pose today for thinking about, maybe discussing. And that is, why would we not want, as an American people, for there to be funding for a wall or a permanent barrier, whatever you want to call it, on the southern border? It obviously makes sense to do it. I've never heard anyone argue otherwise. Why would the Democrats be fighting every step of the way to stop this from happening? And I'm asking the question to my listeners here, but I want to just opine on that a bit and speculate as to why, because there's no rational reason. Any sovereign nation, of course, builds proper walls if needed to prevent criminality, to protect themselves from foreign invasion, whether it be military or through infiltration or through invasion, in this case by drug gangs on the border, which have become a part of this narco state of Mexico, which cannot control its borders and which has become beholden to these drug types. And why then would we not have a border wall? Ask people who are saying this. Why is the Democratic Party fighting so hard to prevent a border wall? Why are they struggling for every penny to build the wall? We obviously need the permanent structure. I guess that putting aside the fact that to protect a border is part of international law and custom, it's something that transcends even human society. It's something that even the animal kingdom understands. I mean, tell a beaver, try to invade a beaver's dam, try to invade a hornet's nest, and you'll find out how much they want to preserve their borders. It's just part of human nature, which makes me speculate with regard to why philosophically, why culturally, the left does not want the border, because they don't believe in the basic function of human nature, because they're utopians. They think that they want to create a world where there are no borders, and they used to be more open about that. They've become a little bit more crafty and a little bit more couch, because they know that doesn't resonate well with average people who scratch their head and say, what the hell are you talking about? Is your door unlocked in your driveway? Do you leave your door in your house unlocked at night? It's not something that's sane or rational. They're projecting into some kind of a world that they're wishing for, which would be a world where there would be no crime, there would be no differences in people. It would be a communist world, I suppose. That is the animating spirit behind the entire communist endeavor, to create this perfected world where everyone is de facto equal and there's no more need to invade other people's territory or attack other people's lands, because there'd be no more property, there'd be no more family, there'd be no more of any of these institutions by the way, which are natural to the human being, to separate us from each other. They will have abolished those things. Karl Marx talked about this in his pamphlet on the Jewish question. He blamed Judaism for this. All of these false constructs that he saw in society, like what he calls self-interest, a normal thing that every human being has and should have. It's a virtue, as long as you are restrained by moral standards, and as long as you don't try to violate the interest of others unlawfully or unwillingly, then you have a right to self-interest. You put yourself first, of course. He raged against hucksters, traders, which is another way of saying he didn't like people who were trading not just goods and services, but ideas and things that they believed in with each other. That had to be controlled. And also, of course, he complained about money, that he said the Jews worship money. Money is nothing more than an abstract vehicle that allows us to trade goods and services. Nothing more and nothing less. It's a means of exchange. We can't have all barter because we don't have something that we can use to barter. We'll all starve to death without money. You need to have an abstract means to exchange goods and services. You need to have a vehicle recognized preferably by a government that has a moral standing. You need to have a vehicle by which you can save and preserve property in its abstract state. And the best way to do that, again, is through money. So let me get back to the point here. And again, I'm welcoming your calls. Why is it that the Democrats refuse to build the wall? Why do they refuse to secure the southern border? What do they have against a permanent structure that will be there in every single administration, Democrat or Republican? It'll be there forever because it's needed. Why are they against it? 617-396-4830. You're welcome to join the program. 617-396-4830 is the number. I'm going on the air every afternoon around noontime. Most days. I'm not going to completely commit to every day because I've got other things to do. And this is not radio. This is my thing. And by the way, please subscribe to my YouTube page. You don't have to continue it. It's free. Just click subscribe because I need to get a certain amount of subscriptions in order to monetize it. And if I monetize it, then I will be more committed because I'll be paid. Then yes, I'll have to be here at a certain time. Right now it's just me and doing my thing here because it's something I believe in and I want to connect. But if I start getting paid, I'm going to have much more of a commitment. So it doesn't cost you a dime. Just all you need to do is click subscribe on YouTube, and I'll get there. So anyway, we're talking about why the Democrats and the liberals won't finance the wall, something that they're not asked often enough. They may sneer and giggle and smirk and wave their fists in the air, but they really can't answer the question of why they would not support a permanent structure on the border, something that will really work to prevent, terrorists and drug addicts. They'll say, oh, well, there aren't that many of them. I don't care. How many does it take? There's only 19. It only took 19 terrorists to destroy the World Trade Center. The point is that any sane nation has an obligation to preserve its security and its sovereignty. That's why nations exist. That's why they've always existed since the beginning of time. I mean, this is the whole argument of this is absurd. It's a matter of degrees, and if they really want to look at the matter of degrees, they will have to conclude logically that yes, it is necessary to build the wall and to do other things, as President Trump said this morning, with regard to ports of entry and whatnot. I mean, all of these things are important. This is an ongoing work of nationhood. We always should be examining and re-examining and rebuilding and creating the necessary barriers and walls to preserve our sovereignty, to preserve our rights, to preserve our democracy, to preserve our ability to function in a normal way. I mean, this is in the same way, again, that the animal kingdom preserves, the bird makes its nest. I mean, this is what nations do. This is what people do. I mean, Beto O'Rourke, who was known as Robert O'Rourke when he was in high school, apparently, in his rally in El Paso, who complaining about the wall, what did he have? He had barriers and fences around his rally. I mean, it's just, the argument is insane. I mean, the fact that anybody would be rallying against this. I want people to think about that. Think about exactly what it is that you're against. Maybe some glimmer in the case of people who are against it will seep in. And you hear a guy like Charles Schumer with a lot of double talk. Oh, we're not going to have a permanent wall. Really? I mean, what is the rationale there? You know, again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. They are utopian, messianic radicals. They are revolutionaries. They want to create a new kind of order. They don't believe in sovereignty. They don't believe in the nation state. They don't believe in the right of people to preserve their own futures, really, and their own cultures. They don't believe in any of that. They think it's wrong. They think it's somehow prejudice against someone else. Now, I have sympathy for average people who want to come here and make a buck. I'm not against that. I mean, I understand that. My ancestors did it. My grandparents did it. And there's an orderly way to go about doing that if a nation needs them. I think that we should have actually somewhat liberal an immigration policy. If we need labor, if we need skilled labor and unskilled, we should open the doors for that because it benefits us. It's not a matter of being against immigration. But I do think that we need to make sure that Americans are put first and Americans are working. And, we've reduced able-bodied people on welfare by helping them get jobs and get into the workforce. You know, even President Clinton believed in that. He had the right to work, the welfare to work program, which the left howled in rage over back in 1996. Those things are positive programs. But right now in American cities, there was just an article about this, you have tent cities with people who are homeless, people who are near starvation, people who are in trouble. Those are Americans. Those are citizens. We owe it to them first. We have to help people in these big cities. And meanwhile, these cities are sanctuary cities, which means that for some demented reason, they think it's a virtue to allow illegal aliens to go in there and not have to be charged with crimes if they commit crimes, which is insane. The other thing, by the way, this to show how absolutely bizarre the Democrats are. Part of the negotiation to bring about this bill is that they wanted to cut down what they call beds, a number of beds that ICE could have access to after they arrest an illegal criminal. We're not talking about just an illegal alien. We're talking about people who are convicted criminals. And thus they would have to let them back out on the street. Are they nuts? I mean, what are they thinking? I mean, this is not rational. And meanwhile you have, again, Americans, and by the way, that was taken out, from what I understand. Look, I think that President Trump has been successful here. He's gotten at least the Democrats to agree to some funding, which means it's opened the door. It's gotten them on record as funding the wall. And I think that he should go forward in haste to build the wall, especially in the areas that need it, the areas where there's a large influx of illegal aliens. The idea of doing the steel slats, I think, is a very good idea. They look great. It's very permanent. It's not possible to cross it, or it's unlikely. And I think that once those are in place and once they're working, then President Trump is going to have a double victory. He will have had the victory of getting to build them, and he will have the victory of showing how effective they are. How, for example, in San Diego, there is a very effective wall. It's a double wall, and it was built by and supported by former Congressman Duncan Hunter. I interviewed him on my program at the time. And it stretches all the way from the coast inland, I think about maybe 25, 30 miles. And it has really secured California's border. Ironically, Californians are against the wall. Fine. Easy for them to say. They have one. The point is that it needs to be publicized, and President Trump is in a position to do that by getting done what he needs to do with regard to the funding he does have. And I understand he's also diverting funds from the Army Corps of Engineers to supplement what he will be getting. It's enough money to make enough wall to make a difference so that the American people can see that this is effective. And then next year, when there's another budget debate, they'll get another little piece. And finally, by the time President Trump leaves office, hopefully after a second successful term, we'll have our wall. And it'll be a great legacy. It'll be something that really states, this is America. You have to come into our country because we want to invite you. You have to come in after undergoing a certain amount of scrutiny, and then we'll welcome you in as a new citizen. It's not a matter of you just can't, storm the border. That's what a sovereign, sane nation will do. All right, now I want to bring up one other issue. By the way, you're welcome to join the show live. Just call in 617-396-4830, 617-396-4830, and I will take your calls. You're welcome aboard. The Drudge Report today talks about an interview that corrupt FBI agent Andrew McCabe, gave last night, or I think it's coming up on 60 Minutes, where he said that the FBI, the Department of Justice, discussed removing President Trump from office. It says here, McCabe, there were 25th Amendment discussions at the Department of Justice to remove Trump from office. Okay, so they discussed a strategy for how to do it, and the way they were going to do it was to use the 25th Amendment by claiming that Trump was not mentally capable of being president. It doesn't matter why they were doing it or what excuse they had. The point is, this is proof that there was an attempted coup d'etat. Can you imagine if they had done this put aside President Trump? I know that some people watching this program, listening to this program, they may hate Trump. Okay, fine. You don't like him as a president, you don't like him as a person, you don't like his policies. That's your right. I respect that, actually. But the point is, it doesn't matter. He is the president. He was elected. Do we want to have this as a third world country where you have a coup d'etat? If you don't like the person in power, you have the military come in or some agency come in and overthrow him? That's not really the way we're supposed to do things in this country. I'm not suggesting it's never happened here. I think in many ways it has. My book actually gets into that, Assassination in America. It's a big subject. It's an interesting subject. But the point is that for today's conversation, we don't want that. I don't think anyone really wants to see that happen. If you don't like Trump, organize behind another candidate and defeat him in 2 years when there's a general election. But in the meantime, the fact that McCabe is openly admitting on a national television program that they had discussions about removing Trump from office, I think that they should be arrested for treason. I mean, this is treasonous material. We're talking criminality at the highest. Now here, let me just look at this Yahoo News article, which is linked to the front big headline on the Drudge Report. It says here, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe says that after President Trump fired his boss, FBI Director James Comey, there was discussions within the Department of Justice about invoking the 25th Amendment as an excuse to remove Trump from office. Last year, the New York Times reported that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who, by the way, I think is a very sinister character, discussed recruiting cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment. McCabe confirmed the report in a new interview with 60 Minutes host Scott Pelley, who relayed what McCabe told him on CBS This Morning on Thursday. There were meetings at the Justice Department at which it was discussed whether the Vice President and a majority of the cabinet could be brought together to remove the President of the United States under the 25th Amendment, Pelley said. In a statement released by the Justice Department, Rosenstein said McCabe's account of the discussion of invoking the 25th Amendment was, quote, inaccurate and factually incorrect. President Trump responded in a pair of tweets later Thursday morning. This is President Trump's tweets. Disgraced FBI acting director Andrew McCabe pretends to be a poor little angel when in fact he was a big part of the crooked Hillary scandal and the Russian hoax, a puppet for leaking James Comey. IG report on McCabe was devastating, part of insurance policy in case I won. And by the way, this is why McCabe was not only fired, but he had to lose his pension. Probably he's under criminal investigation. Second tweet from President Trump. Many of the top FBI brass were fired, forced to leave, or left. McCabe's wife received big dollars from Clinton people for her campaign. He gave Hillary a pass. McCabe is a disgrace to the FBI and a disgrace to our country. Make America great again. I mean, I don't see where you could argue with that. They were talking about removing President Trump from office. That's a coup d'etat. That should be, this should be the biggest story in the country right now, that this country had to undergo that or possibly undergo it. And I would urge anyone, whether you like Trump or not, to reject these kind of politics. We can't have that in this country. We elected him as a people. He is to serve his term. Not a single move should be made to ever remove him from office unless he's involved with, high crimes and misdemeanors in office, which he's not, as far as anyone's been able to prove. Anyway, so that's my thought on that. I think I'm going to wrap it up at this point. I don't want to, stay on too long because the stream will be too long on the audio. But again, I'm trying to do this every day at noon. I will be having guests on as time goes on, as I schedule them. You're certainly welcome to contact me with suggestions, either through the Facebook page or you can email me at chuckmorse4@gmail.com or charlesmoskowitz@gmail.com is the name I'm using professionally now. So charlesmoskowitz@gmail.com. And my books, of course, are available at amazon.com. I just put my name in the server, Charles Moskowitz. And also, please subscribe to the YouTube page. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for watching, everybody.